Do I look like a gardener to you? I am a better, I am not a gardener. Hedging is for gardens. How does your garden grow?
With plus money.
With plus money. Hedging is for gardens.
Welcome in, everyone, to Betting Weekly Live. It is Wednesday, the 13th of August. You're Steve Wyss and Nigel Seeley, and it's a very exciting day today. The first major piece of European silverware will be won today. It is the UEFA Super Cup final, PSG versus Spurs. We're going to be going through the game in detail, along with some other EFL Cup action. Nigel, very exciting times with this big match today.
Yeah, good afternoon to you, Steve. Yeah, looking forward to the match today. It should be a good one. Paris Saint-Germain obviously went on a fantastic run last year. Everybody was so excited about the way they played football and how dominant they were, this young, exciting side. And they're up against the Tottenham side who bored the pants off everyone to win the Europa League. So it's a very, very interesting development matchup between the two of them. Obviously, he's a big favourite in Paris Saint-Germain, but they have been rocked by some news at Donnarumma. Obviously, Donnarumma news in the last couple of days been the build-up. So it's not ideal preparation for them, but they will be overwhelming favourites when the two of them meet this evening over in Italy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fascinating clash. We're going to give you a full breakdown on things like that. Welcoming everyone. We've had a few comments before we even went live today. Again, Leslie Mack, don't worry yet. We are going to talk about EFL Cup involving Sheffield Wednesday. Rick Haley, William Middleton, let's go. S. Have you guys ever tried a ladder bet? Absolutely. Loads of ladders, S. I can take you through some ladders if you want. Steve from Lynn, good to see you. Duncan Evans, Dave Clark as well. And Dave Clark. And yeah, the 0-0 draw in the Copa Libertadores given out by Nathan on Monday's show. You can still watch Monday's show for more picks. Copa Libertadores right in the middle of this last round of 16. Before we move on, I just want to remind people again of the Betting Weekly newsletter, as we do every day. 2 newsletters a week, including the Insider coming out on Friday. And it's going to be quite an exciting edition of the Insider, Nigel. Several picks covered again across the whole Premier League, big games in Europe, South America. You don't want to miss it, do you?
No, it's also some college football stuff if you're stateside as well. So it's good college stuff as well. And that predictions on all the start of the Premier League games, the biggest match in Europe, as you say. And it's a big weekend of UFC, apparently. Not that I'm a big UFC fan, but I've been told by Paul that it's a massive weekend of UFC stuff. And obviously next week you've got the start of the US Open. You've got the NFL coming as well. And all those will be covered on the Insider. So not only this week, but in the next couple of weeks. It's a massive 2 months for us. This is always our busiest couple of months on our channel. Obviously, start the football, soccer leagues across Europe, and then obviously the tennis, the US Open, which is all our biggest tennis tournament we cover here, obviously stateside as well. So, yep, lots of good stuff. And the Insider, I really like the Insider. When it comes out every week, I think it's really put together, and I think it's a central piece of betting content that you need going into the weekend.
And it's totally free. Just sign up, free of charge, cost you absolutely nothing. And you also get a bonus newsletter on Mondays. So well worth everyone's while signing up to the Insider if not already. And please do hit the like button, the subscribe button as well. We recently got over 10,000 subscribers. We want to get to 11,000 as soon as possible. Thanks so much for all your support. And it's allowed us to, expand the show. We're going to be Betting Weekly Live is going to be on Saturday as well now. Certainly on Premier League weekends, starting this Saturday. That's going to be 9 a.m. Eastern. And along with all the other shows that we've got going on. Welcome into Duncan Evans, Holo IA. Good to see you again, Buenos Dias. Been a regular in here, Holo, haven't you, recently? Ken Peacock as well. College football risky in week 1. Same with a lot of all sports, I think, Ken, actually. Yeah. Same with the Premier League with this weekend and everything like that. Kito Now, always good to see you. He won on the Peñarol game in Copa Libertadores last night. And like I say, do check out Monday's show in the Libertadores. We are now going to be looking at the UEFA Super Cup, which is between PSG and Spurs. PSG minus 225 favourites, actually minus 230 now with Bet Rivers. The ties at plus 410 and Spurs at plus 550. Loads of side markets to get involved in with this game. Goals line is generally around about the 3.25 mark on the Asian handicap. I'll talk a bit about PSG soon, but I'm really intrigued to hear your thoughts on Tottenham, Nigel, because they've probably not been discussed too much in the mainstream press this summer. Other teams perhaps focusing on them more. Thomas Frank has come in, Ange Postecoglou won the Europa League and got fired. I quite like the hire of Frank, I must say myself. I thought it was a bit harsh on Ange, but fair enough. Thomas Frank's done his job at Brentford really well. What sort of state do you see Spurs in at the moment, which is more important, obviously, with today's game rather than the season ahead? How do you see they're going to approach this game?
Well, I think they're in complete transitional stage at the moment, aren't they? I mean, they survived relegation by one spot in the Premier League last season, and obviously won the Europa League to put them in this position. They got Champions League football by default, really, when you look at it. But it's a massive, massive first upgrade for Thomas Frank. I mean, he's done brilliant at Brentford since he took charge a few seasons ago, put them back into the Premier League, established them as a Premier League side. You know, they're a top half Premier League side, sort of mid-table Premier League side for the last 3 or 4 seasons. Developed some brilliant, brilliant players in Ivan Toney, Wissa, Mbuma. Just made a style of play that made them very, very hard to beat. But I think the club and the player and the manager fitted. Now to go into a massive, massive club like Tottenham in a huge stadium where expectations so high, I've seen people take that kind of jump before from teams where they're very, very secure into big, big jobs, and it hasn't worked out. The perfect example was David Moyes when he went to Manchester United first time around. Was at Everton, did really, really well. There's certain managers who have that level, and then they go up a level and they can't really do it. Graham Potter is another one from Brighton. When he went to Brighton, took the job at Chelsea, and he was out the door very, very quickly. So I like what I see from Thomas Frank, but I do believe it's going to take him a little bit of time to get his to stamp his authority on this side. He's been very, very unfairly done by with injuries and obviously and key players that he's going to miss for this one. And Maddison is out with the cruciate ligament, going to be out for most of the season. Dominic Solanke, a player that I believe is going to have a very, very good season this year, because when you look at the back stock of pedigree, what Frank has done with top strikers, they've always kicked on under his management. So he's not available. He won't be playing tonight. He's got an ankle injury, so he's a big doubt. I read somewhere that he won't play. I mean, he could change his mind, but the story is he won't play. Richarlison will lead the line. And then when you look at it, they're still in with it. There's a talk of them trying to buy Eze. Eze's been bet very heavily to go to them. But it may be a match where I think may come a little bit too early for Tottenham. I think the Thomas Frank era the Tottenham side, we may see him in the new year come to get the style he wants, the players he wants, and I think you can judge them then. At this moment in time, I think they're a work in progress. And we haven't really got much of a form line to go by, obviously, to start the season. But the one thing we did see last week, last Thursday it was Tottenham played in a friendly against Bayern Munich, and I know it's only a friendly, but Bayern Munich won that friendly 4-0, and they could have won by 6 or 7. Tottenham were really, really, really bad. Harry Kane missed a penalty. Tottenham created nothing, and already now, this is probably, I would say, Thomas Frank's biggest match as a manager in his career. So he's going to go up against a side that everybody looked at as unbeatable before they played Chelsea in the Club World Cup. And I think it's a tough ask for them, a very, very tough ask. So from the Tottenham perspective, I think if they can hold them out for a draw and do, push them to extra time or penalties, I think that's a good result for them. If they can win it, it's fantastic. But I don't think we're going to see the best of Tottenham until probably 8 or 9 games into the season.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair assessment there, Nigel. That Bayern game was very worrying, wasn't it? They got absolutely mullered in that fixture. Really did. So, excuse me, my cat is on me and trying to get involved. But in terms of PSG, I'm just going to talk about them a little bit here, because this is their first competitive game of the season as well. It's not too long ago they were in the final of the Club World Cup. And I know some of the teams that played deep in that competition have been concerned about the lack of holiday time, basically, for the players. Real Madrid wanted to get their week 1 fixture postponed. Eventually, it's going to be played on Tuesday. And PSG, it might come a little bit early for them. It's quite noticeable that the last 5 Super Cup finals have all gone under 2.5 goals. And, this might be a little bit more different because both of these teams have never won the Super Cup before.
5 of the last 7 of them have been draws. And 5 of the last 7 have gone into extra time and penalties. So, or they haven't gone to penalty, they've gone to extra time. So they've always been quite cagey affairs. But they've been dominated by the team that's won the Champions League. You've got to go back to 2012 to find the last time a team that won the Europa League won this tournament, and that was Atletico Madrid who beat Chelsea. So the last 12 of these competitions have been won by the Champions League side. I think the difference is as well, we talk about Paris Saint-Germain coming into a new season, and they might not be ready yet. But with all fairness to Paris Saint-Germain, the Premier League is a much more different proposition than what they have in Liga. They're -$4 to win Liga. So that they could lose the first 3 matches and still win it, but then they could put their reserve sides out for the first. They played none to away. Tottenham have got to get off on the front foot straight away in the Premier League, because that is where they're looked at, because they won a European trophy last year and the manager's still gone because they finished 4th. So if Thomas Frank gets off to a bad start in the Premier League when they play Burnley at home, that has to be the priority ahead of this match, despite a glamour European tie and opportunity to win trophy. But the get off to a win is the priority. For Paris Saint-Germain, is it the priority? Because Paris Saint-Germain are going to win the league, aren't they? I mean, it's probably one of the weakest league in terms of competitiveness in Europe. They're one of the shortest price favourites around, if not the shortest price favourite. Same with Celtics to win their league. So I think it's, I think for Paris Saint-Germain, I think it's more of a big deal than Tottenham, actually, because I think Tottenham, great opportunity to go there, but they have to start the season off to a flyer. They've got a great chance, obviously, Paris with the goalkeeper situation, which has rocked it a little bit as well. They've got an opportunity there, but Tottenham are without some big players for this match as well. So that would be a worry.
So from a betting perspective, in terms of money line, handicaps, over under, where would you be going, Nigel? Either picks or leans in those markets?
I'd be going to the EFL Cup. No, but I mean, I genuinely think that without Solanke and with Richarlison leading the line and with no Maddison, I believe that takes out a huge amount of Tottenham's creativity and their goal scoring threat. Richarlison, to me, isn't a top-notch centre forward. I think he's a player that Tottenham would quite lightly offload, and I believe that they would probably, I think they're going to weak. So when you look at if you looked at the form guide coming into this match, there's a lot of form guides, because obviously Paris Saint-Germain played so many English sides on the way to win the Champions League last year. They beat Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, and Villa. Obviously, Villa was the one test that really they give them a right go, and they had a great opportunity to win it. But if you look at Paris Saint-Germain in the Club World Cup, I mean, barring that performance again in the final against Chelsea, which nobody expected, the one thing you got to take from that Paris Saint-Germain, they were so good defensively. Brilliant. I mean, 5-0 against Inter Milan in the final of the Champions League, 4-0 against Atletico Madrid, 4-0 against Inter Miami, 2-0 against Bayern Munich, and 4-0 against Real Madrid. Now, do you look too much into the Chelsea performance, or did Paris Saint-Germain have a bad day and Chelsea were inspired under a brilliant performance from Cole Palmer and João Pedro? I think more the latter. So I think if we look at what we've seen this season, I think without the key players that Tottenham have got, I like Paris Saint-Germain here tonight to win 1-0. I would expect a 1-2-0 win. Very, very comfortable. Nobody wants to get injured. Everyone wants to go into the first week of the season with all their players. And to Tottenham, it's all about getting off to a winning start for Thomas Frank at home to Burnley at the weekend. That is their priority. Pick up a good performance here, some encouragement, give some players an opportunity to run out in a big match, see what you got. But the weekend, get Solanke fit, try get Eze in to replace Maddison. But now I think the bet I would have would be Paris Saint-Germain to win 1-0.
Yeah, I've got exactly the same bet written down here. Plus 145 with Bet Rivers. I do like the 2-0, 3-0 scorelines here. 7-1 and 8-1. I don't see Spurs scoring, obviously. Whatever you've said there, Richarlison, I totally agree with it. Solanke being ruled out the game, or he's certainly in no fit state. That's a huge loss for them. And I just don't really see PSG don't concede that many goals anyway. So I think Winton, I think someone put it in the chat as well as a possible, was asking a question about it anyway. And I totally agree with it. Got some player props as well coming up soon, but I'll just go through some chats, comments here. Holo Ihe likes PSG to win and over 2.5 goals at -120. Tristan Wiggles going both teams score no. There's some questions about Donnarumma. Now, the thing with the Donnarumma thing is to do with his ability on the ball, I think, Meninda, and that's where they brought in Chevalier, and Donnarumma. He looks like he's going to be going to Manchester City. So I think it's one of those. Reminds me a little bit when sort of Pep came into Man City and got rid of Joe Hart. That was a lot more extreme, but I feel like it's just the manager prefers to move on. You've got to freshen up your squad sometimes. Even the Champions League winners have got to do that. So obviously it's a managerial directive. There's a bit of support for Spurs in chat, Nigel. There's had 2 or 3 wondering if Spurs are worth a nibble on the money line here, just because it's a Super Cup, but there's a big discrepancy between these two.
Well,
sides.
I mean, if we took Paris Saint-Germain's form at the end of last season, I mean, I had a conversation with you, and we do the ratings for us on the Better Weekly Insider. We do the ratings every week. Paris Saint-Germain were very, very highly rated as a top team in European football by a distance at the end of last season, and many expected them to win back-to-back Champions League. Obviously, Liverpool have done some brilliant business in the summer, and obviously they losing against Chelsea. We've had a little bit of a rebase on Paris Saint-Germain on what we saw in that one match, but barring that one match, the second half of last season, they were streets above anybody in European football. And now we've got a Tottenham side that, forget about the Europa League. I mean, the final against Man United was anybody could have won that. Their route there was pretty, precarious, and sometimes they struggled and didn't play their best stuff. They were quite unfortunate. But the base of the facts, they finished one place off the relegation battle in the Premier League. So you've got a team who won the Champions League against a side who finished one stop off. And I do know there's a lot of changes, but their starting 11 tonight is considerably weaker than what ended last season and what will start. There's no Son, there's no Dominic Solanke, no Maddison. That's a lot to take out. Those 3 players will contribute an awful lot of goals for Tottenham. And to get the champions of Europe a plus 145 in a tournament that has been historically very low scoring, and in a tournament that has been dominated by Champions League winners, to get plus 145 or win to nil, I think that's the way I'll be going tonight.
I think there was someone that put up PSG winning under 4.5 goals. I quite like that one as well. To be honest, the under 3.5 goal line at minus 137 wouldn't be the worst bet. The match takes place in Udinese Stadium in Italy, the Blue Energy Stadium. I think the reason they've gone here is because it's a fully sustainable stadium, that sort of thing. They're going to showcase it off, all the solar panels and stuff like that, 25,000. But it has been a really hot day there in Italy, as it has been across most of Europe. We're going to get hydration breaks and stuff like that. It probably won't be the fastest tempo of game. I really do think that 2-0, 3-0 PSG could be on the cards. But in terms of a player prop, 2 players to look out for. I'm taking one from the James Easton playbook, which is never the worst idea, is it, Nigel? Nuno Mendes for a shot here, minus 113. You could even look at a shot on target at plus 340. He fired at least one shot in 4 of the 6 Club World Cup games. And the other side of the field, Hakimi, for a shot on target at plus 118. We know those 2 fullbacks are 2 of the best in the world. And in a match that they're probably going to dominate, you may get to a position where these fullbacks have to shoot to try and break the deadlock. And Hakimi, you've got an added bonus there with him that he sometimes wrestles free kick duty. So it's the sort of game I could see PSG racking up several shots overall. And those 2 players are usually the best value in the PSG props market, unless Fabian Ruiz is playing, and you can always look at him, but he's not projected to start. What is your predicted scoreline then, Nigel?
2-0 Paris Saint-Germain.
That is a 7-1 shot for those who are interested. Just going to look at some more comments here. Ginepi says PSG restarted training 7 days ago. He thinks physically they're going to be short. I don't think they're going to be absolute peak PSG, but they probably don't need to be to beat this Spurs side. Interesting comment about the Community Shield there from Duncan. Is there an argument that Crystal Palace are as good as Spurs, even to a degree, Nigel? Well, certainly in terms of the matchups, the Liverpool Palace.
Well,
matchup.
Again on our rating system, they were higher than Spurs at the end of last season. But obviously, there's a rebase at the end of the season, and we think that Tottenham will improve hugely on the back of a new manager, and obviously some of the players that they're linked with. They haven't really brought many signings, have they, Tottenham? They're more or less the same, and they're arguably weaker. No Son. Yeah. They haven't bought anybody really There'd been a lot of talk about players coming in, but not actually. So there is a rebase on them. The market has a rebase on them. They're very short price favourites. Well, not one of the short price favourites to get into the Champions League is definitely in the top 6. But that is a huge increase. I still got a feeling they're rebuilding. You know, I think a top half finish for Tottenham is a good achievement. So at the moment, if they met on the first day of the season on a neutral pitch, you would have Tottenham marginal favourites, but that can change very, very quickly in a period of time. And we know what we get from Crystal Palace, and obviously Crystal Palace is going to be weaker if they lose Eze. Gaio's gone; he's on -$5 now to sign for Liverpool as well. So those 2 players go, and Eze could end up as a Tottenham player, which gives them there's a lot of unknowns. Gives them an up. There's a lot of unknowns about Tottenham, linked with players, unknown about the manager at this high level, unknown about life without Son. We're expecting a good season from Solanke. We could have another flop, and there's so many question marks about them. I think they're a risque betting opportunity at this moment in time.
Who are Liverpool not getting, Nigel? They're just getting linked with all these big players still. What an incredible window they have had. Fingerwag22 says Hakimi had an interview in which he said he deserved the Ballon d'Or, so he's going to look to leave a mark on the game. Hopefully.
I think he's favourite. He's favourite the Ballon d'Or.
Is he the favourite now?
I think he's the favourite for the Ballon d'Or.
Really? Yeah, good time to showcase your abilities there. No Patia for Shannon. Under 2.5 goals on the fact that this could be a dross game. Like I say, the last 5 are all gone under 2.5 goals in regulation for this Super Cup final. Just trying to... Jan Phillip is going with the Chat GP prediction of 3-1 PSG.
He's not. I got that completely wrong. He's not the favourite for Ballon d'Or. I saw somewhere. So I saw when these sort of AI.
We Dembele, I think.
Dembele's the big favourite. Yamal's second favourite. He's one of the outsiders. But I saw some Chat GPT thing that saying his favourite, and I've sort of born into it. But there you go.
Meninja, I don't really feel like betting on the first half in this game because it could be 0-0 at half time. That's the problem. They could just work their way into the game. I don't really think there'll be more than 1 goal in the first half. So first half.
I mean, just another thing about the Tottenham as well tonight. Thomas Frank has made his whole career about getting out of the traps fast and making Brentford really, really hard to beat straight off the front foot. If you look at Brentford last season, they scored a really early goal, like after 5 minutes. But that was like a Brentford side at home, and then they went away and they were pretty weak. At the end of the season, they flipped. They were pretty bad at home and good on the road. But his whole ethos is getting out early. I think, you can do that when you're at home at Brentford, at home to, a Leeds United or a Burnley or an Everton. But if you're coming out with that tactic against teams like Paris Saint-Germain, I think you need to be a little bit more patient. So he's got to change his way of management in these big Champions League matches, because the more gun-ho he is, the more open they are for conceding. And it's pretty much what Ange Postecoglou did at the end of last season. In those big games in the Champions League, he grinded them out. It was, a lot of games he was very defensively astute, which he wasn't early, and he sort of learned his traits as the season went on. But I got a feeling that the way Franks plays, he'll leave himself open against a brilliant counter-attacking side like the Paris Saint-Germain are.
Dave Clark's going to go PSG half-time, full-time. Jan Phillip, well done on Copenhagen winning that match yesterday. I didn't celebrate it. Good luck to you in the next round. I do think you will beat Basel. So, you should be in the league phase, I think, Jan Phillip. Okay, EFL Cup then, Nigel. Most of the matches were played yesterday, but there's still a sprinkling of fixtures today across the card. We've got the first 3 matches up there. Cheltenham, Exeter, Barnsley, Fleetwood Town, Huddersfield, Leicester. You got anything on these 3 fixtures?
Well, I'd say the thing was yesterday was this is a competition, really. I know the teams in the Championship don't really want to be in this competition, I don't think. I think, they've had 1 game of the season. They got the following week. They got back again in the weekend. I think it's much more important to teams in League 2, especially League 2, really, who can get a draw against a fashionable club in the next round of this competition. And we saw that in the results last night. There was 19 matches, I believe, last night in this competition, and 29 matches. 13 favourites won and 16 dogs. 30 favourites won and 30 favourites won out of 29. Obviously, it was draws in that as well, but only 13 of the 29 won. And there was some short price favourites there. There's some bigger price outsiders. Portsmouth against Reading won at +550. Doncaster beat Middlesbrough at +450 as well. So there was a couple of big outsiders. If you bet every favourite last night in the EFL Cup, you lost 3.7 units by betting the favourites blind. And if you bet every dog on the money line last night, you would have won 13.2 units for a 1 unit stake. So it just shows you that this competition, it's a bit of a hindrance to the teams in the Championship. They know they realistically can't win. If you look back through history of this competition, the recent history, it's always been run by Man City, a Newcastle, Liverpool, a Chelsea. The best teams have done well at Manchester United. There's very rarely anybody from the Championship that ever gets deep in the competition. And at the start of the season, they just want to get their season on track in the league. So this is a tournament where you can get some shocks. So the first match we got up, and the other thing I think you've got to look at fixtures as well. I mean, you saw Ipswich yesterday get beat by Bromley. Ipswich play Southampton this weekend, so that match against Bromley, they won't really care about that. The top two in the betting early doors set a marker in the Championship is much more priority, and the team news reflected that. Bolton against Sheffield Wednesday is the big one, but on this graphic here, Cheltenham we have against Exeter. Cheltenham haven't scored yet this season. They haven't scored a goal yet this season, and Exeter have been in good form. They had a brilliant win at the weekend, 4-1 against Blackpool. So on what we've seen so far in this season, Exeter would be a decent bet. I never really like Exeter when they travel on the road in midweek matches because it's always a bit of a bummer to get to. But Exeter's and Cheltenham isn't really geographically that far. You know, if Exeter
next door for them, isn't it?
Yeah. So if Exeter are away at, say, for example, they've got to go all the way up to Harrogate on a Tuesday, I think that's a long trip. I'd always want to be fading them. So Exeter, on what we've seen this season, should be too strong for a Cheltenham side that haven't scored. I saw last week when we've done the show last week, and I gave a couple of bets on the unders on the basis of what we saw in the first week of the EFL of the week, League One and League Two seasons. It never really backed it up, but on the evidence of what we've seen so far this season, I think that the under 2.5 goals would be a bet here. And the second match, Barnsley against Fleetwood. Barnsley have been both of these sides have won both their matches so far to start the season, and both of them have been scoring goals for fun. Barnsley have scored 6 goals in their opening 2 matches. Fleetwood have scored 2 goals in both of their matches as well. Big matches for them. Barnsley have a big match at the weekend, though, at home to Bolton, which is both two sides have got promotion aspirations as well. So that might be a priority there. Whereas Fleetwood travel south to play Bromley. On the evidence, obviously, Barnsley are a league above them. I think that potentially could be an over. So I definitely think both teams will score there. Both teams will score, yes. Barnsley v Fleetwood. The bottom one there, Huddersfield. Now, I think this could be the one that's got the shock. Like I say, we saw some big price winners yesterday, but I think Huddersfield are onto something special at the moment. They've got a very, very good young manager in Lee Grant. They've started off the season in exceptional form, winning 3-0 and 2-0. They haven't conceded yet. And Leicester, to me, are a club, again, in transition. They've got my old manager, QPR manager, Martin Fuentes, in this manager. There's some doubt about some points deduction that might be hanging over him. They haven't replaced Jamie Vardy. And I thought they were really, really poor at the weekend against Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, we all know Sheffield Wednesday have their problems. They took an early lead and Leicester just grinded them down in the end. But in a tournament of shocks and a tournament of, betting blind the underdogs yesterday, I think Huddersfield, who I believe are going to really challenge for the title this year in League One, could be worth a little bet here at plus 450. Haven't conceded, good home support against the Leicester side in transition. Leicester he won't know his best side, so he's going to rest it more virtually everybody who played in that match. And I think Huddersfield at plus 450. The other bit I like in that match is Huddersfield plus 1 goal. If you want to be a little bit more careful, that is minus 121. But we saw a brilliant record of, I've spoken about how many underdogs won yesterday, and if you bet them blind, and they were big prices. So I think Huddersfield have got a chance here against a Leicester side who are focusing. Their only focus this season is to get back in the Premier League and see what their fate is on these points deductions. They're not interested in this. Whereas Huddersfield, I think they might give it a go. I think they've got a bit of something going at the moment. Confidence at the club, new manager, doing well, scoring goals, looking great defensively, not giving up any opportunities. And I'm going to take Huddersfield on the money line to actually win this at plus 450 as a dog for me. But I would probably personally, my bet would be Huddersfield plus 1 on the Asian handicap, and if they lose by exactly 1, it's a push.
Yeah, I mean, that was my takeaway as well from Sunday. Leicester were poor. I don't think they'd have beaten anyone else, in the Championship that day. The defence, the first half especially, looked disappointing. And these Terriers, like you said, they've got a bit of bite about them, haven't they, this season, Huddersfield. So I think that sounds a great looking bet. Even money line, that you say, plus 450 on the money line. I certainly wouldn't be betting on Leicester at minus 186. Just looking through some of the comments. Kevin Strain, good to see you. Leicester didn't impress me versus Wednesday, says A. Duncan Evans, QPR apparently signed Richard Kone today. Got himself a good player. That's good news for QPR fans, Nigel.
Wickham, was he? Is he a Wickham?
Yeah,
player?
yeah. Has a good record.
My friend's son made his debut last night for Wickham. 16-year-old, played up front.
Did he do well?
Max Stones, I think. I don't know. I think he come off. I think he done well. Yeah, Stones. His grandfather was Eminem Hughes, the old Liverpool captain. Probably a bit before your time, Steve. Do you remember?
Yeah, I don't. No, that doesn't ring a bell.
He was the captain of Liverpool when they won the European Cup. Played for England. His nickname was Crazy Horse, and his grandson played last night for Wickham at 16. Made his debut.
There were some great nicknames back in the day. FGA football. Why has Nigel stopped doing jokes? Wait till the Premier League show tomorrow.
I don't feel very well, if I'm being honest with you. And I had a little nap, and I woke up about 2 minutes before the show. That's the truth. I'm absolutely shattered, and I don't feel that great.
FGA football, he's totally right about the League Cup. If you really want to play it safe, you've got to wait till the lineups for those who'd really like to bet because of the lineups and stuff like that. There's other matches as well in the EFL Cup. 2 games to talk about. We've got Birmingham, Sheffield United at the bottom, but Bolton, Sheffield Wednesday. Bolton are minus 400 here to beat Sheffield. This is a mess, isn't it, Sheffield Wednesday? It really is.
Well, I mean, if anybody who doesn't really understand, who's come onto the show and they're stateside and don't know, I mean, this is a team that are a league below another team, and they're minus $4 at home, which is unheard of. You would never see this. It's obviously Sheffield Wednesday have got transfer embargoes. They have their owner hasn't paid the money. The players have been paid now, though. So, there is problems. There's serious problems at the club. But the biggest problem is they only have a squad of like 15 people, 16 people. I think they got some kids in the squad for this one. So they are going to really be depleted. They have a match at the weekend against Stoke at home, which is they've got to prioritise because however they've got to do, they've got to stay in that division. So that's why they're minus $4, because everybody anticipates a squad that's going to come out there and be threadbare. But I looked at some of their results from the under-23 level, and they're pretty decent results, Sheffield Wednesday. So they have got some talented players, and it might be an opportunity for them players to step up. We know the issues here. The other big problem for them is at the weekend, their captain, Barry Bannon, who is their best player by a mile, and he stayed with the club. He showed loyalty. I listened to him on TalkSport, the radio over here, before a week ago, before the start of the season, when he hadn't been paid, and he was an inspiration, what he was saying. And I can imagine a lot of the younger players taking huge inspiration from him, playing for his jersey, playing for the cause, and wanting to stay there. Well, he got himself sent off last week, which means he's out of this game. So that's a massive blow. I didn't think they were that bad the other day. Did you think they were that bad the other day?
Not at all. I thought the first hour. I mean, Bolton are minus 2 on the Asian handicap here.
Well, that was where I was going to go. I was going to go they're playing for pride. The other thing you got to remember as well is it's very, very hard to the psyche of a football team. They don't want to put 6 or 7 past them when they're struggling. So, for Bolton to win by more than 3 goals, a team above them, Leicester, one of the favourites for the division above them, couldn't do that, struggled to get 1 past them. I don't think they'll win it, but plus 2 goals, I think that's a little bit disrespectful for Sheffield Wednesday. And obviously they're going to take a huge following there because the fans want to cheer them home, give them every support as well. They're a great club in this country, and they've got a bit of pride. And Bolton are going for the title. I mean, Bolton had a brilliant start to the season. Only got beat in the first game of the season against Stockport, which they were 2-0, but they were very lucky that they played had a really good win against Barnsley, but not Barnsley. They played Plymouth, really good win, 1-2-0, and they got Barnsley at the weekend, which is a huge match. So if they go 1-0 up, or they're winning with 10-15 minutes to go, I think they'll rest a lot of their key players for that match at the weekend against Barnsley. So I can understand why they're a short price, but I did have to do a double take to see them at minus $4. I thought they'd be about minus $2, something like that, and that brought in the Asian handicap at 2, which made it a little thing for me.
Kuruku says over 3.5 shots on target for Spurs. at roughly even money there. Could look with that play. Duncan said he thought Sheffield Wednesday played quite well against Leicester and unlucky to lose. Yeah, I think that was the takeout from the game. They did put up a very good performance. They are going to take a big following. You could argue in some respects this game means more to Sheffield Wednesday than it does Bolton to a degree.
Well, the other thing is, if Sheffield Wednesday win this match and they get drawn a big home match against a Premier League side, they get TV revenue. They'll get it does mean if they it's the northern they're going to the northern draw. So any team that plays in Europe doesn't get it. But say they get drawn at home to Leeds, or they get drawn at home against another big Premier League side, Everton, they're going to get a big payday. So the incentive is there for them to do well. But obviously they are going to be decimated by kids, and they're going to have decimated by the players. They've got a very small squad, so they expect a few kids to play, and without their best player, Bannon, it's a big blow.
Let's move to the final game then. This is Birmingham City against Sheffield United. Birmingham City 150 to 1 to win the tournament, which might sound a lot, but it's actually quite short. They are the shortest priced championship side to win this competition, apart from Saints and Leicester. Sheffield United plus 235 dog here. Obviously Birmingham City, a club very much in the news. Surely their priority is on trying to get promotion, Nigel, unless they want a big cup run.
Well, we saw a team that every time we talk about Birmingham City, we always have to mention Wrexham, because there's obviously the American fan base they have, and Wrexham want to get promoted. But Wrexham last night put everything in to get into this next round of this competition. And I would think that Birmingham would do the same. I think they would want a glamour tie. They'd want to show that they can play on this high level. And Sheffield United have got to do something from their performance at the weekend. They were absolutely diabolical. But arguably so against a very, very good Bristol City side, who I thought played brilliant. And they were the takeout team for me. I've always thought Bristol City had been quite good, but I thought, they would have taken, and they're around about 25 to 1 to get each way for the championship. If they can play like they did against Sheffield United in day one, they were exceptional. And Bristol City won that game 4-1. So Sheffield United got beat 4-1 at home on the open day of the season. There is always a bounce back, though. Always a bounce back when a team has a really, really bad defeat on the opening day of the season, or any day of the season. And that was a defeat that hurt. The manager put them all on the pitch after, give him a dressing down after the match, in front of the fans, to show he wasn't having a new manager. And I think that this week they'll be working that won't be a repeat. And I can see Birmingham having a real test here tonight against a fired up Sheffield United side. I wouldn't be rushing to bet the plus 108, as I say, I think they've got bigger things on the horizon. Birmingham promotion, and I think Sheffield United will want to prove that performance of the weekend was a blip. Birmingham have to travel to Blackburn at the weekend, which were managed by the guy who got sacked from Birmingham very unfairly. So it's a bit of a grudge match there. So John Eustace was the manager there, was manager at Blackburn, and he's now got to take his side against them. But I got a feeling here that this will be low scoring. I think when a team has a big disappointing match like that, they work so hard on the defence and they keep it tight. I would expect that Birmingham have got some brilliant strikers. Stansfield, probably who scored at the weekend, one of the best strikers in this level in England, under 21. I can't see him playing. And I think under 2.5 goals here at -127 would be where I'll be going. I think this will be low scoring.
Yeah, there was a big meltdown from the Sheffield United fans after that performance at the weekend. I noticed that Opta, I don't know quite how they worked this one out, made Sheffield United their favourites to win the championship this season. But based on what we saw in week one, I don't think we're going to get that. FGA Football said he had a blinder yesterday based on the show. Just what I needed. That is what exactly we want to hear at FGA Football. And before we finish the show, I've got a bet for everyone in a match which kicks off in just 20 minutes' time in the Conference League. This is Istanbul Basksehir against the Norwegian club Viking, and the goal is over 3 Asian goals. The bet, is over 3 Asian goals, -117 with Bet Rivers. 3-1 was the result of the first leg to Istanbul, and this has the makings of a really open fixture in it. Viking actually top of the league in Norway. Don't play a game until the 31st of August, so they can really go hard at this in the second leg. They only really play one way, and that is attack. And I've been quite impressed from what I've seen from the Turkish club so far in Europe this season. I've got a feeling that league might well be back on the rise again. I don't expect Viking to turn it around, but I do think they'll have a good go and a bare minimum of 3 goals should be scored, I think, in Istanbul. A bit of a random fixture. I think it's to do with the security element of it. Fenerbahce played last night, and I think there might be another game in Turkey tomorrow. But anyway, get on the over there match, which kicks off in 20 minutes' time. Also, there's a very interesting quirk today, Nigel. Norwegian Cup action starts today in the lower rounds.
I can't wait.
There's a team called Lillestrøm who are playing one of the lower league sides, and they could get knocked out of the cup before they actually have a Norwegian Cup final in December. So they could get knocked out of the competition before they actually face their own final in December. They're moving the cup forward a window, so it goes sort of summer then through to spring. So imagine that you go into a cup final and you're like, well, I can't defend this trophy because we're knocked out already.
You've lost me, Steve. You've lost me. But
yes.
It's all a bit confusing. Like I say, I've had a kip and I don't feel that well. So let me get my head around it. I'll come back tomorrow and let you know about it.
What is your best bet, Nigel, today?
I think Paris Saint-Germain to win 2-0. I think Paris Saint-Germain to win 2-0. And I will be having a little pizza money on opposing Leicester today. I think that Huddersfield are on something pretty special here, and I think they're going to keep their momentum going to start the season. Saw last night teams in the Championship, the top end of the Championship, getting turned over. Ipswich, maybe though, I think it was 4 penalty shootouts last night, and a few obviously extra time. If you are going to be a little bit brave and play that money on them to win Huddersfield to win the match, you might want to bet them just to qualify, because the penalty shootout is a factor as well. A lot of draws. If there's a draw, go straight to penalty. So that might be something to do as well at a very nice price.
S, any insight on the ladder bet? What I'll say, S, if you're gonna go up the ladder, make sure the bottom level is a bet that if it cashes, then you won't lose anything overall. So make sure you get all your stake back with the lowest level of your ladder bet. Go as high as you want, but with the lowest level, I would always say make sure that you're not going to lose anything out. If you're on goal line, say 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, make sure the 2.5 bet that you take will make sure you at least end the match level. But yeah, you're not really into ladders as much as me, are you, Nigel? But no. It's more of a Jack Wright thing.
I do think that sometimes if you like a game, where I would be, if I like a game that's like under 2.5 goals, if I fancy a game under 2.5 goals and I really fancy it, I sometimes would just skip the 2.5 and play the under 1.5, or I play the under 2. I wouldn't play all 3, because if you get it completely wrong, you're obviously going to do 3 lots. And I always look at the negative rather than the positive, but I would go for the bigger price. And if sometimes in games where I like goals, instead of betting the 2.5, if I really like goals, I'd go higher, 3.5. Or maybe even 4.5. I mean, I know Neil Channing, who does the dojo with me, he would always go, if he likes a game to be unders or he likes a game to be overs, instead of playing the 2.5, he'll play the 3.5, because his belief is sometimes when it goes over big rather than hit the ladder. Just go for the next one up, get the bigger price.
Yeah, and Ken Peacock's right. This is now a popular bet in terms of player props as well. Score prediction for PSG game. Nigel went 2-0. I've gone 3-0. Best of whatever you are taking in that. And Nigel, you're going to be back on the show in about an hour and 20 minutes time.
Yeah,
with the tennis live.
We have a quick nap before I come back on to the tennis live as well. The tennis action just started now. So head across the Bet Rivers there. We've got our 100-1 pick for the tournament in action. First match up, Holgaroon against TFO. That's going with serving set 1. So hopefully we can get Holgaroon at 100-1 through the quarterfinals. That'd be good.
And then later on, we've got Betting Weekly Hardball and Betting Weekly Fast Break as well. Fast Break show has been on fire recently this week. I don't think they've had a losing pick yet. But Doug and the crew have been absolutely brilliant. So do tune in for those shows. We'll see you on here in about an hour and 15 minutes, Nigel. And I will see you all on Friday with Lewis Jones. Tomorrow, Dan Roebuck and James Easton go through the Europa League card on Betting Weekly Live. Thanks so much, everyone who joined live or on demand. We'll see you again next time. Goodbye.